Hi everybody, how's it going? I decided I was going to do some videos on trim, so I went to YouTube, I searched, and there's a million videos on trim, so I thought, oh, this will be useless. So I watched a bunch of these videos and I saw big holes, so I decided that I would go ahead and do some videos on trim. In fact, I'm going to do a complete tutorial. So go to my channel, go to playlist, look under trim tutorials, and you're going to find some short clips, 10 minutes or less, on installing trim. Everything you need to know, tips and tricks to get the job done and get the job done right. Hi everybody, I'm Jim Dierdorf and this is Detroit DIY. Today we're going to talk about measuring trim. Let's get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is draw a diagram of the rooms, hallways, door openings. Doesn't have to be precise, doesn't need to look like an architect did it. You just need to get your measurements on there. Now these measurements can be your final cut measurements and or just a rough measurement for purchase so that you can know how much trim you need to go buy. When you're doing this just for purchase, you don't want to buy that exact length of trim. You want to add an additional 5 or 6 inches to that just in case there's a mistake. You have just a little extra, a little wiggle room that you don't have to worry about making mistakes and so on and so forth. So I like to just write down the rough measurement, get how much trim I need, go buy the trim, and then when I'm ready to install, I get my final measurements. So let's talk about final measurements and how we achieve them. Here we are back at my mock-up display, and the reason I did this, if you haven't watched the other videos, is so that I could better emulate problems that you may run into installing your trim. So uneven floors, this floor is extremely unlevel. There's just issues here that I'm going to show you how to work around in many of these videos. So if we're going to measure for our trim and we have an outside wall here and an outside wall here, it's a little difficult. Now if I'm just going to purchase the trim, then I'm just going to throw my tape measure in there like that. I'm going to say it's roughly 32 inches and that I need, to stick 4 or 5 inches on there for just a little comfort zone, and I would write that measurement down and go buy it. But if I want to get an accurate measurement for cutting, I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to take a piece of tape and stick it to the floor, and then I'm just going to draw a line on it. So it doesn't really matter where. Then what I want to do is measure from this corner to the line on the piece of tape. And it is 15 inches. So let's see. And it is just slightly over 15 inches. 15 and 1/16. So we'll write that measurement down. Then we'll come from the other side and we'll do the exact same thing, which is 16 and 15/16. So we'll just add those two numbers together and that will give us the exact length of this piece of trim. And for this wall we're going to use a similar method, but right here is our door jamb, our door opening. So we're going to have some case molding that's running up right here to cover up this little bit of ugly. So we're still going to add some for mistakes. So we're looking at 21 inches to the end of the case molding, so I would just write that down as a 24-inch piece of trim. Once you've made all your measurements and your diagram is complete, it's now dependent on what big box store you're going to get your trim. Home Depot will allow you to cut trim to length. Lowe's will not. So if you're going to Lowe's to get your trim, then you're just going to need to add all these numbers together and get a linear footage and then just buy that amount of trim. If you're going to Home Depot, you have the luxury of buying the trim in the length that you've written down. So that's up to you and how you want to do it. All works out the same at the end. I'm not sure whose pricing is better. Most cases I like to walk in, just buy the trim and head out. I don't want to stand there and try to use their chintzy little saw to cut it so that I'm still getting exactly what I need either way. If you only need a 2-foot or a 3-foot piece of trim, I would go to Home Depot, use their chintzy little saw, and cut me 3 feet of trim and head out the door. I don't want to buy all that trim if I don't need it. When you're installing a full trim job, either way, there's really no difference. So guys, that is how you measure trim. That's about everything there is to measuring trim. It's all about your cut list, your diagram, and your accurate measurements when it comes time to cut. So that's all we got for this one, guys. I'd like to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed yourself, click on one of those videos. They're going to pop up right there. And we'll see you soon.